And welcome back to another episode of Life in Prison. As always, my name is Zach. So, unfortunately, I spent 5 years of my life in maximum security prison, and since getting out, I then got my medical degree, and I am trying to help others that cannot help themselves. So I've had a few subscribers ask me, I spoke about things in previous videos, getting caught with knives, stabbings, hits and stuff like that, right? So people have asked me, how do you get away with having a knife in prison? Your cell is only oh so big, right? There's only oh so many places to put things. Plus you get sent through the metal detector. So if you have metal on you, won't you get caught with it? So first off, sometimes you don't really want to put things in your cell, right? If you're a known gang member, or if you're up on a gang unit, right? Or if you're known to have knives, people are obviously the COs are really gonna be looking at you, right? So there's been a few times where you could go take your knife, because most of the time knives in prison are either metal or plastic, either or. Me personally, I never went, they have like slasher knives, right? You pretty much take some razor blades, glue them or melt them down to a stick so that you can slice people. That's how people end up getting $1.50 and stuff like that. Me personally, I didn't like those, because those, whenever you're fighting right in the midst of the moment, if you get hit with one of those, it's not going to stop anybody. It's just going to cut them and burn, and that's it. It's not physically going to stop them, right? So if you're really wanting to take it to that place, the whole point is stopping somebody. So me, I've always kept a poker, right? Something 6 inches longer. Something that when you go in, it's going to possibly, most likely, hopefully puncture a lung, slow them down, or hit some things. You obviously want to stop them if that's what you're going to do in the first place. I do not advise it. Unfortunately, like I said, I've been in situations that things happen, right? And like I said, if you're going to take it to that place, that's just my personal belief. So sometimes if you're out on the big yard, right, sometimes we've been able to take knives and stuff them straight into the ground and just know where the landmark is, so you know where they're at. So if you are out on the big yard or center yard, right, and if something pops off, that way you always have some available. And we'd have 10 to 15 on the center yard and the big yard, every single corner, every single phone booth, every single weight pile. Like, it didn't matter where it was, anywhere we were at, out in the center yard or big yard, there'd be something available pretty much. With wounds like that, you gotta think, if you get hit with a screwdriver or an ice pick, the wound is going to be so small, they can't stitch it up. You know what I'm saying? So if you get hit 15, 20 times with an ice pick, you're leaking, but they can't stitch anything up because the whole wound is superficial. It's very, 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 very small, but the damage is internal, more or less. That's what you're going for. So some of the places that I used to hide my shanks, right? If I had to have a shank in my cell, it's a little bit easier hiding a blade before you put a handle on it. So most time handles people will use is pretty much cloth, sheets, shoelaces. Take your blade, and then you'd wrap the end of it down with this material, cloth, shoelace, whatever it may be. That way it doesn't slip off. So whenever you're stabbing somebody, or if it gets wet, it doesn't slip out of your hand, because once blood gets on it, it is going to slip. Another thing people would also do is they would make loops on the end of their shanks and wrap it around their wrists. So it's dangling. If they let go, the enemy cannot then pick it up and then use it against them, because I've seen plenty of times where that's exactly what happens. Someone comes to a fist fight with a knife, they get punched, they drop their knife, the other person picks it up, and then now they get poked. It happens all the time. So that's why a lot of people will put the noose around their wrist so that they can't let it go. It's easier hiding a shank before you put that stuff on the end, because it's not bulky. So what we would do is, the cells are only oh so big, right? So you got 7 by 12 is pretty much average cell. So in the corners of the cells up at the top, if there's nothing up there, they're not going to check. So it just so happened that the state toothpaste that they gave us in West Virginia, the color of it, it was pretty much almost the same white as the color of the wall. So what you would do is in the crack of the corners of the wall. You would stick your knife, you'd get up on your table and reach all the way in the corner, stuff it in the corner, right? You take your toothpaste and turn it into a glue then, and you would stuff it in the corner, make sure it's stuck in there really good, and then you put a nice layer over top of it, let it dry, put another layer over it, let it dry. So now when it dries, it literally looks like the concrete painted over in the wall in your cell. So if you don't have pictures or anything hanging up there, when they look up, they're just gonna see white. They're not gonna see shiny metal or black or whatever it may be. That was probably one of my personal best hiding spots. Like I said, I've been shook down plenty of times and those knives never got caught, ever. Unfortunately, I have been caught with knives though, many a time. So in the kitchen, and we were able to get a hold of these plastic white knives, and they're very thick. So I like those because you could pass through the metal detectors or get wand coming in and out of the yards or in and out of the pod, and they would never find it because it was metal. So I got hit with about 4 of those, all right? So a few of them, we get these big gray boxes. We get 2 of them. We get a big box and a little box. So when the box is completely closed, there's no gaps. But when it's open, there's a little gap in the back, right? So in my head, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna stick it on the inside of the end of the box and I'm gonna tape it. And the knives are small enough that they could slide into the cracks of the wedge of the box. So whenever they open these boxes up, they slide completely open, right? So in my head, okay, I'm gonna stick it on the very inside. So when they slide it open, they're not gonna see it. And if they flip the box upside down, that small part is gonna be on the inside. Well, unfortunately, I got hit with knives. I ended up doing like 8 or 9 months for that because by that time I was already known for pretty much acquiring weapons and using them. Another time I had gotten caught, I had a ice pick. It was a little bit longer than 3. It was probably between 3 to 5 inches long, and it was sharpened down to a point, a very, very sharp point. And I had that inside one of my big pins, and the cap on, and the pin still worked. Unfortunately, I don't know how I got hit with that. You know, the CO, whenever they came into my cell, they made sure to be very meticulous whenever they came into my cell because I was very, like I said, very much known for, you know, acquiring weapons, right? And that's another thing. People would ask, well, how would you sharpen your knife? You know, you don't want people to know what you're doing, right? I've seen plenty of videos where you can hear people sharpening knives, you know, during lockdown. Everyone's in their cell, it's quiet as hell. Now you can hear someone sharpening a knife. For anybody that knows the art of war, right? You don't let your enemy know what you're doing. Do you get what I'm saying? So sharpening a weapon at that time, right? Say everyone's locked down, it's quiet. You don't want to sharpen your knife because now everyone knows you have a knife. Everyone knows you're sharpening a knife. So it's like this. Either way, you could get ratted on, right? Someone telling you because now they're sharpening a knife. Not only that, but now the worst of all is now that the person that you're sharpening the knife for, your enemy, right? Now they know you have a weapon. So if you was about to get on them, now they know what you have. You never let your enemy know what you're doing, what your next step is. Keep your enemies close and your friends closer. You know, we would go out to the big yard or wait till during the day where everyone's in the pod and being loud. That's when you go in your cell because the TVs are blaring, people run around talking in the pod. That's the loudest time. You do not want someone to know that you're sharpening your knife. So they would ask, how would you sharpen your knife in your cell, right? Because you can go outside and get concrete all day long, right? They've got cinder blocks sitting. Most prisons are made completely with cinder blocks, cement, and metal, okay? So there's plenty of places you can sharpen it, but in your cell, there's only so many spots. So what you would do is most prisons and jails, they wax the floors. The floors are very, very slick. So what you do is you would go underneath your bunk where the floor wasn't as smooth or as worn down, right? Because it's underneath your bunk. You would scrape away, if you had wax, scrape away the wax or the paint on the walls where the cinder blocks are. Take all the paint or anything that's on it, take it all the way off, right? This is a process that's going to take time, to, days, weeks, months, right? But if what your end goal is making a sharp weapon that is, gonna work, right? Patience is key. So you don't want to rush things like this. So you would get all this paint off, and then you would lay underneath your bunk. For one, if someone came in, they can't see what you're doing. Plus, being under your bunk muffles some of the sound. Now, although the person that's beside you, they would be able to hear you. But like I said, if it's during the day, some of the sound's gonna be muffled, right? So you would lay under there and just sharpen away at your knife as sharp as you want it. Check out the new Halloween drop. It is fire. I'm waiting to see what it comes out with next. So Caleb, keep us in line. As always, guys, go ahead and check him out. See if you like his product. It's fire. Just go ahead and peep him out. So as always, guys, what I want you to do, if you haven't already done it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification button so you're first informed when I upload. This is just a short video on, pretty much weapons in prison. Where can you hide them? Because when time comes, you're gonna need them. Are you gonna be able to get a hold of them? Don't let them get bopped. So, as always, I send my utmost love, loyalty, respect. Keep y'all heads up, guys. Stay positive and don't let any negativity get you out of character, guys. As always, I'm gone.